Welcome back to CodingCatDev, where we give you cats the freshest dose of dev snacks. Here is Alex Patterson and Brittany Postma. This episode brought to you by Storyblok. Build anything and publish everywhere. Welcome back, perfect peeps, to CodingCatDev podcast. We have a whole crew with us today. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome. Not
Hello.
quite the Brady Bunch, but
Glad to be here.
I have a few guests.
Thanks for having us.
Would we be in the middle of the Brady Bunch? That'd be kind of fun.
We're like the parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the scary part. We'd be
I
the
could see it.
parent.
I could see it.
So today we're talking about full-time content creating, and many of you, hopefully all of you, had a job at one point and then finally just took the leap and started becoming full-time content creators. And we want to hear more about that. But before we dive into the content, we kind of want to hear more about you. So I think I'll start, Ankita. Can you go first and just give us a little background and all about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Ankita Kulkarni. I switched to, being an educator last year in September, so still quite new. But before that, I released an online course on Next.js. It started to do really well. Plus, I always loved teaching, so that was really fun. But now my focus is to help developers level up in their careers, to getting into leadership or even like more technical fun stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much me.
You were priorly at GitHub and other places before you made this leap, right?
No, I was at I worked at IBM and yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and we did another podcast with Ankita if you want to hear more about her backstory.
Yeah, came out just a little bit before this one. It's not out yet. Wayne, how about yourself?
Yeah, thank you. So I've been a backend engineer for several years. I kind of worked my way up to engineering management, and on the side, I've been building this site, boot.dev, that's focused on helping developers learn backend development. So there's a lot of great places to learn front-end development online. It's sometimes harder to find the backend stuff, specifically dealing with Golang and Python, kind of where I've spent my career. So anyways, I was using that or building that as a side project for about a year and a half, and then was able to go full-time on it a little over 6 months ago. Quit my job as an engineering manager, and now I create courses and videos and blogs pretty much all day.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
seeing this transition from management back to content creation. It's like, get away from management.
Dealing with people is very hard.
Yeah, I'd rather.
Wayne, I saw on I was like scrolling through your Twitter feed, and I think I saw where like Golang had someone not beat up, and learning Java had someone like crushed. So I thought that was pretty fun.
That's how I felt. Yeah.
We all have different experiences through this stuff, I guess. Mr. James Q. Quick, how about yourself?
Yeah. What's up? I am a developer, speaker, and a teacher, and I've done all three of those things, some combination of them professionally for about 10 years, several years of experience in developer relations as a developer advocate. And I've been creating content basically since 2014, and then taking that more seriously about 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Been doing it consistently, and had been thinking about someday in the future doing content full time. And I got let go from my job over the summer, and took literally a day to think about what to do next, and decided this is my opportunity to do content full time. I've been doing it for about 8 months now. So I wake up and do whatever it is that I want to, which is a ton of fun. So far, so good. Hopefully I can sustain that for a long time.
A ton of fun and super stressful all at the same time, knowing it's all on you, right?
It's been, I don't know, like that's definitely a concern, but it's been super positive for me so far.
That's
not
awesome.
much stress. Anyway, we'll see. I'll talk to you again in 6 months or so. I'll let you know.
I'm sure we'll dive into that more later too.
Yeah, for sure. Mr. Simon Grimm.
Yeah, I'm Simon. I'm self-employed for 6 years, so I'm probably like the the longest period
You
here.
have the elderly one with us.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, but I also started as a native mobile developer. I also worked my way up a little bit to like leading a team, but started getting into a framework called Ionic like 8-9 years ago, and started blogging about it. And yeah, I don't know. a year later, suddenly people called me an expert in Ionic, and I started creating books because I was listening to Smart Passive Income and how you create books and courses and all those cool things. And it just continued from there on until 6 years ago. I started a membership site on Ionic, and I launched the site exactly the day where I left my job. So I wasn't actually up for I wanted to do consulting at that point, but in the first week I got like 100 signups or so for
Oh my gosh.
and that turned the tides completely. So over the last 6 years, I've been doing on and off consulting, but mostly content. And just this week, launched a new project, which is everything beyond Ionic, but we'll probably get to that later.
That's incredible.
That's really cool. That's where I know you from originally, was all the Ionic stuff, and we had Mike Harrington. I always screw up his last name. Hartington. On not that long ago, and Mike and I, run into each other on the DevRel circuits occasionally, so that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Mike is awesome.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's do a quick ad break to thank our wonderful Storyblok sponsor, and then we'll come back and dive into all this fun stuff.
How in the world could I forget about this?
There's no need to freak out. We have Storyblok.
Robert, you're right.
But we still need a plan.
Okay, how much time do we have left until the launch?
24 hours.
Okay, let's go.
We are ready to publish.
So let's get this baby online.
Welcome. Thank you, Storyblok, again for sponsoring us. We really, really appreciate it. Finding a sponsor that's consistent like that is so hard, and we love you guys for it. First question we have out of the gate, and I think some of you talked about it already, but I'm going to go to Simon first because I think I heard it for sure. Sounded like you built your own learning platform. What made you kind of go that road instead of like a Udemy? And maybe it's been so many years that was too new. I don't know.
No, actually, I think in 2015 or something, Udemy was quite popular, and many people asked me about creating Udemy courses. But I didn't want to do it back then because I heard that you don't really own your students on Udemy. You can't contact them directly, so they're pretty much like Udemy students. And also, I don't know, I always hated this model of this course is 500 euros, but today you get 99% off and it's just $19. I don't think this is honest marketing. This is bullshit to me. So I wanted to create my own platform and own those people. So I didn't develop the platform back then. I actually use WordPress, and I still use WordPress for the Ionic Academy, which is the platform. But I think it was a good choice back then because I'm good at creating content, and I'm probably not good at spending 6 months on developing a platform. And WordPress, I pretty much know nothing about PHP, and it's a hard time configuring stuff, but setting up a WordPress blog and doing a subscription paywall and that stuff, that basically took me 2 days. As a developer, that's so easy just to put the pieces together. So I've been happy with the setup. It works, and that's been my choice since then.
I tried to do that once, and Brittany yelled at me, and that's why we started doing this podcast.
When I first came on, you were on WordPress, and I'm like, can we get off of WordPress? But it's totally relevant. That's fine, and it gave you more control than Udemy gave you at the time. And I know, James, maybe you created a Udemy course at one time. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm actually one of the creators that has, at least in one instance, the opposite perspective on Udemy of being super positive. So exactly what you said, Simon, Udemy just throws on sales and they advertise it as this it only lasts a day. For anybody listening, never pay more than $15 for a course, and
Max.
10 to 15. Yeah, if it's anything more than that, just wait till tomorrow and it'll be on sale. But the thing is, as a creator, you just go in knowing that, so you just expect all of my sales are going to be $10 a piece. And then also one thing to note that you may not think about is they take their cut, which is 60%. So on a $10 sale, I make $4. It,
I
it
think
may
it's
be
like
worse.
80%.
It may be, yeah. So like I think you just have to know what you're getting into and have your expectations. Like if you don't have correct expectations and go into Udemy, yeah, it's going to seem really, really terrible. And they also have this other perspective of they don't do a great job of checking for copyrighted content and all that kind of stuff, which is 100% true. But my like one success story is I created my VS Code course and did it on Udemy because I didn't know I was a consumer of Udemy and I had nowhere else to consider. And it ended up doing amazingly well to the point of like the last couple of years, I've made $1,000 a month or so. I think my most recent one was like 700. And the beauty of this was created 4 or 5 years ago when I had like a much, much smaller audience. I wasn't doing any of my own marketing. So they did all of that for me. And I don't make, maybe I've earned $50,000 total, which is much more, I think, at that time than I would have made on my own. Now that I have more of a brand, now that I have more of my own audience, I use Podia now. So they take just the Stripe fee or whatever, which is 3%. I make the rest of it. I control coupons and all those things. I also have access to like a newsletter through them, and I pay yearly, but it's like a monthly subscription thing. So at this point in my career, I run it a different way than I did before, but for the right use case, I think Udemy can be very beneficial. Again, if you understand how it works while going into it.
What does Podia handle for you?
A lot of things. So one of the nice things about Podia is the newsletter piece. So if you think about like 1,000, 10,000, 50,000, which I don't have subscribers to a newsletter, that gets really expensive really quickly. And something like ConvertKit or even MailChimp or like whatever you use gets really expensive. And so Podia, I can create any sort of product I want. I could gatekeep a live stream. I can sell an ebook. I could have a free download ebook. I can have a paid course, a free course, an upgraded course, like this tier and a that tier. I can have all that be like tags inside of email. So I can have my general newsletter. I can send emails directly to people who are in certain courses. I can send it to people who are not yet enrolled in a course, but downloaded the free cheat sheet to say like, hey, you got the cheat sheet. Maybe you want to check out the course to learn more. There's like analytics around it. There's a ton in there. It really is like at surface level with features, really amazing. And I think it's like $90 a month, $80 a month I pay, and it comes out to somewhere around 700 a year. The last thing I'll add is I can do affiliate links as well. So I can give people a link to my course, have them sell it, and it'll automatically handle paying them for that, which is like pretty neat on top of all the other features that it offers.
Cool. Does anyone else have experience with any of the other platforms? I know Teachable is another one. Does this also do like lessons, and so you can do your lessons and your courses straight through Podia?
In terms of like hosting, so you like for a course, the things that you can put in the course, like modules, are videos, or I think you can do quizzes, although I haven't done that.
Oh, okay.
You can do like details, like if you want to have a resources page that you have as one of the sections or whatever. So
Yeah,
all the
that's what I was
things, all the things that you would think about for a course, you can do right inside of here.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, very neat product. I always, so just for people getting started, would you suggest this for someone like brand new? Would this be something that you'd say get started here? If you decide later it doesn't work out for you, move on? Or
personally, I wouldn't.
Okay.
And that's because this is a pay per month subscription. So
that makes sense.
the thing that I would recommend is going somewhere where you don't have to pay, and then they just take a percentage of your sales versus giving up money without knowing that you're going to get any back. That obviously, like, you know, if you have experience creating content, this is your first course, you may have a better idea and have stronger opinions. That's great. Like, do whatever works for you. But my personal opinion is, first thing, don't just give them money unless you know you're gonna make money, if that makes sense. So Udemy would be an option. Gumroad is one of those options that's incredibly popular. Like, it doesn't have all the email features and stuff, I don't think, but I see people sell like quick courses and ebooks and stuff through Gumroad all the time, and I think they even do a little bit of marketing, and I don't know what percentage they take, but it's still not super high. I think it's reasonable. So I would probably start with one of those versus paying for one of the more bigger, all-encompassing platforms like Podia upfront, at least.
Yeah, that's very sweet. I know a lot of us are doing front-end web development, but Lane, you're doing a lot of back-end stuff. How are you handling that from a teaching side of the house?
This is like my favorite thing to geek out about. So, like when I started Boot Dev 2 years ago, I started by building a platform. Wouldn't recommend. Wouldn't recommend, but I did build it from the ground up. And the main reason is I'm super passionate about like one of the things I'm most passionate about in teaching code is building, just getting people to build as much as possible. So I wanted to have something like I don't know if you've ever taken the tour of Go. It's like this, you kind of code in the browser and you learn about Go. I basically wanted to build a tour of Go with more real world examples and with answer verification. So rather than just like building little, demos in a sandbox, you're actually kind of getting feedback on your answers and that sort of thing. So that's kind of why I built the platform, and then ended up launching my first course, which was just Learn Go on the platform. It started out really slow because I had to spend more than half of my time working on the platform and just the other kind of half of the time working on the courses. And I don't know if I'm unique in this regard. I might be, in that I didn't do video for like almost 2 years. It was all kind of markdown assignments plus, coding, code in the browser type of tutorials. So it started slower that way. But the nice thing is that over time, as like all that work I put into the platform has like paid dividends like month over month. So in the last year, we've 10x'd our growth, and it just keeps compounding just because the platform, now is very unique and different. All the gamification that we've added. We just recently integrated the OpenAI, GPT API. So like you can highlight code and it'll explain it to you, stuff like that.
Cool.
And so having a platform does enable you to do a ton of like really cool stuff that can differentiate you, but it does mean a slower start.
Yeah, and it's a trade-off. And we've had Scott Tolinsky on before too, and he's talked about the same thing about creating level up tutorials and how that's like, it's a trade-off that you pay for that with your time, like having to maintain it and stuff, but it's definitely like maybe worth it in the end if you're going to do this long term.
Yeah, at this point, I'm happy. I definitely had like a long trough of sorrow at the beginning, if you're familiar with startup speak. But now I'm really, really glad that I did it the way I did.
Awesome.
It's a really good reference right there. I first learned that term last year. That was new to me. So I'm curious, anyone else want to comment in on the Go Udemy versus not like build your platform?
I can definitely also vote for Teachable. So I think in the beginning they had a different name. I think right now it is Teachable, right?
Yeah,
they used to have something else. I had courses on Teachable, and that was actually quite nice to work with before I ran my membership site. So I think Teachable is definitely also a nice alternative. You can create like structured content, and Podia looks a bit more business-like. I don't know. Teachable looks more creative, and I don't know. I think it's also in the price a bit cheaper, but definitely something I would start out with. And I also wouldn't recommend to build your own platform. We just did this, and it costs a ton of money or time. So don't, please. If you want to start a blog, just start a blog. Don't build the blog.
For sure. I'm a mentor in a community that uses Teachable, and I've watched a lot of those tutorials, and they've ran into issues where it's like, oh, that's on Teachable side. Like we can't do anything about that. And that's where that struggle comes in with that trade-off that you have to like figure out which one is better for you. But these platforms are already built and you can launch faster. I'm sorry, did I interrupt you, Ankita?
Oh no, I was just gonna add, like even right now I'm working on a course, and that's a question that I kept thinking about a lot on, like, should I release it on Udemy or should I release it on my own and things like that. And I feel like, I kind of agreed to what like James was saying, but I've gone with what Simon was suggesting. So it's just like, I think my course on Next.js, it's on Udemy and one on the platform, but I guess like Udemy gives you the scale, right? So when you are starting out, you're trying to build an audience, you're trying to build trust and authority in the space. And I think Udemy really gives you an in on that, right? And then you're able to get feedback from students, although some students can be a bit ruthless in terms of feedback, but that's how it goes. But I would say like, but then you don't have access to the students, right? And their emails and whatnot. So if I were to create more technical courses, I would 100% go the Udemy route and like put it out there. But like, the leadership course that I'm working on, I just feel like the audience would be more catered to, like hosting it on my own or using Podia or Teachable or anything like that, just so that I'm able to like, add that interactivity more, and I'm able to like connect with the students more and build whatever sequences or automations I want to like, help encourage them. Because in Udemy, you cannot reach contact students one-on-one. And I think for like a leadership audience, they would want that accountability and things like that, which would be good.
On that note, I also think that Udemy is a terrific way if you just want to launch like a little free course just to build up your audience. I also re-uploaded one of my courses as a free course to Udemy, and you just get the traffic coming in. So if you're just starting out, probably that's also a good way.
Little tip for that is you can release that same free content on your own YouTube channel as well. So you can have it as valuable content on your own channel that you own on YouTube, and then also just get the additional traffic from Udemy. And then in that, another like tip or recommendation for people is make sure that you have something in the details of your courses or content on any platform to link to something more long-term for you. So Simon, you mentioned, and I've experienced this myself, Udemy has rules around how you can communicate with people that take your courses and what you can share with them. So for instance, you're not supposed to send them a link to something external for them to go buy your other course if it's elsewhere. Or maybe even within Udemy, I'm not sure, but especially they don't want you to send people to pay money elsewhere that's not on the Udemy platform. So a couple of tips for that, or a couple of things that you can include is like, if you run a Discord server, include a link to that in there. I, for instance, advertise like, I'm going to do support for this course through my Discord server. So I have channels in Discord to handle that, and I send people that way. Also, just having a link to your newsletter or something else to like get them off of the platform onto something that you have more control over helps kind of mitigate the rules that they have that kind of restrict you on how and when you can talk to your audience.
I love that y'all are kind of answering our questions without us even asking them. Basically, my next question was going to be, how do you build your audience and then engage with your audience and build that community around them? And those were some great tips and tricks. Does anybody else have anything to add on that, like getting started phase?
I mean, what's popular right now is definitely short form video, and I've seen some YouTube channels explode just by doing shorts. I can't remember the name exactly, but there was one channel, I think he has already 1 million, and he's just doing only shorts. So yeah, I think that's definitely if you enjoy making videos and enjoy like TikTok and short form videos, probably just going for shorts is a great way to get started right now.
Awesome.
Has anyone created a lot of content on TikTok, like in that form, by chance?
James,
yeah.
I've
Are you
done.
finding like monetization is going well for that though?
I know nothing about monetization on TikTok. I for what it's worth, like I've done a good amount of content. I wouldn't say I've exploded at all. I think I'm like 14,000 followers there, which again, this is all relative. So some people may not be anywhere near that and think that's a ton, but I look at people that have hundreds of thousands, right? And that would be my goal. So I don't know if I honestly literally know nothing. I don't know if there's like a minimum number of subscribers or watch time that you have to have like YouTube before you can monetize. I don't know if there's a checkbox I have to hit that I just haven't looked at when I publish a video, but that hasn't even crossed my mind yet.
Ridiculous. Like you have to have millions of views to make it worth it, like even close to worth it. So
to actually make any good amount of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
This is one thing I learned from reading and watching videos from others, and then certainly experience now. Like most YouTubers that have big channels, you're like, oh, they must make so much money off YouTube ads. Typically that's not the case at all. It's like much less than people generally think. But where they make their money, where I make a lot of my money, is from sponsored videos. So people pay money for me to create content on their platform or technology or whatever. So that's a big part of it. And then most people also try to funnel people away from YouTube to their paid resources. So we've talked about courses a little bit. That's another really important strategy for monetizing having an audience, is being able to take an audience, move them from one place to another, from providing value to them and making that thing, whatever it is, worth it for them to go and invest their money because they trust you through the free content that you've created. So kind of navigating viewers or customers or students through this funnel to these, like at least exposing them to the paid resources, is definitely one of the goals with having an audience on any platform.
I just want to clarify, like, we're not trying to figure out how to get the most money out of people, but what we're talking about on the show is how you've transitioned out of a full-time job into a content creator. And the important part of that is you have to be
make
able to
money.
survive.
Yep.
So
Yeah, you have to make
it's
money.
kind of a key. So yeah, I am kind of curious to continue that conversation about building up your audience though. Like, what else did you do? Did you go out on podcasts first? Did you like a newsletter? I think Udemy, was a good probably starting point, launching point, or Teachable, or one of those that does a lot of SEO and building your brand for you. Was there other methods that any of you ran into that really helped?
So for me, SEO has been my bread and butter for quite a while. I started blogging. That was kind of how I got started in writing, which is why I decided to build the course, at least initially, kind of all text-based. And that's been fantastic, but again, slow. There's a common theme here where I seem to do everything the slow way. So again, now it's paying a lot of dividends because I have 100,000 visitors to my site, just free every month through the blog. But initially it was much less. And also, I'm just now starting to build my social following. And so, you go look me up on platforms. I'm quite small when it comes to any individual platform like YouTube or Twitter. But I do think if you enjoy blogging, I definitely think it's a way you can go. And I'd kind of echo what James said in that you want to capture a lot of that traffic through email if you can. Because as far as quitting the job and making money full time, right? So you can quit and go full time creator. Having a big email list that you can send emails to about your new products, your new announcements, your new features, is huge leverage.
That's really cool. Great point.
I would also second starting a newsletter or just like growing your audience through a newsletter is huge because you have a personal connection to their inbox and you are sending them emails. It's almost like knocking at someone's door and you know that they're hopefully going to open if they're at home. It's kind of like that, but I think it's really great. And I think one of the ways that has been really useful for me to build, I guess, a community around that is that, I have like a front end newsletter and even a leadership one. But what I kind of do is even before I have an idea or if I'm working on something and I would love some feedback, I just kind of ask them, like, what do you all think about it? Would you be interested in testing this out? And if so, then just like, I don't want to like, you know, s- email the whole list every single time, talking about it. But if you're interested, click this button and I kind of talk to them about it. And recently I released something and I got really great feedback because of it, because I just asked them for feedback and they're more than willing to help and help me grow as well as learn through that specific content. So I think that has been really valuable for me, and since then I've been kind of doing a lot more tests like that, which is really good because you're connecting with like real people and talking to them. Hey, before I invest too much time into this, is this something that you would like is this helpful for you? And if yes, then great. I will keep working on it. But if not, then maybe it's time to pivot.
Mhm.
Good point.
Can I quote one of my favorite TV shows?
Hit us.
TV show is New Girl, for anybody who watches New Girl. And there's an episode that's at a wedding, and Jess, the main character, is like trying to pick up a guy. And she's not the best person at flirting or picking up people or whatever. And so she's asking her friends for advice. And I think they ended up calling this move the Biden, which is not political, so don't take that any specific way. But the Winston, my favorite character, quotes to her, anywhere he goes, just be there. If he goes to the dance floor, be there. If he goes to get food, be there. And then I think he says if he goes to the bathroom, be there, but that's like a little bit extreme. But the point is, like, you hear this cliche of meet developers where they are, but my personal take on cliches is like they sound cliche, but they're 100%, or not 100%. They're often actually the number one thing you need to do, but most people ignore them because they sound cliche. So meeting developers where they are, what does that mean? Well, if you want to build a Twitter audience, you should be spending a ton of time on Twitter. If you want to build a YouTube channel, you got to create a lot of content on YouTube. You got to create a lot of TikToks, etc. So like spend time where you want to be known. and spend time talking about the thing that you want to be known for. So if you want to be the Ionic person, if you want to be the general JavaScript person, if you want to be the AppWrite person, like whatever the thing is, you should be talking about that thing, and you should be talking about it consistently, and you should be engaging with people. So on Twitter, for example, it's not just about posting, it's about finding other people and responding to their stuff in a meaningful way by providing value to them, whatever that is, whether it's resources or answering questions or a supportive, like, hey, good job on the thing that you built, whatever it is, like just show up and show up consistently. So that part is like, it's really easy advice to give. The difficult thing is to actually do that and implement it. Danny Thompson is like one of the most famous people on Twitter in tech right now, who's a good friend of mine. He was in Memphis up until the last year or so and moved to Dallas, but he had a course talking about how he built his Twitter audience. And this is not to like belittle the course, because there's lots of like little nuggets in there that are really valuable. But basically what it came down to was just being active and being genuine and providing value to people. Like it's kind of, the advice is not that hard to give. It's just hard to actually implement and spend the time and dedication to do it. But show up where developers are and talk about the thing that you want to be known for.
I don't know if I've ever put the words that you just put out on myself, but I did that for Svelte.
Yeah.
Like when I was
100%.
first starting out, like I talked about Svelte everywhere, and now I've like started the Svelte Sirens, and like just I was doing that and just never really realized it.
100%. And I mean, you already know this because you do plenty of Svelte related things, but I come across random Svelte stuff and I hear your name everywhere. Like someone that I completely disassociated from any conversation I've had with you, I was talking to, and they reference your content on Svelte. And I was like, okay, I mean, it makes total sense because
That's awesome.
like, you've done that thing. And I have this new kind of pivot in mind that I've mentioned to a few different people of taking like 6-month chunks and diving into a specific technology for multiple different reasons. So right now for me, it's Astro, and I'm going to launch an Astro course in the next 4 or 5 months. But the idea is like spending 6 months on one topic means I can go deeper in that topic. I can continue to do exactly what we just said and post and share about it and teach people about that topic to build up that reputation. At the end of 6 months, launch a course, have that as a thing that I can make money on, because we have to make money. But hopefully that's from already providing enough value leading up to the launch of a course from the free content and talking about that. So it's a good like learning opportunity for me. I get to connect more with product teams and with technologies that I'm excited about, and then also turn that into something that I can ideally make money off of and go through this cycle every 6 months of learning and talking about something new. So
I think you guys all have hit on something that I wanted to bring up was a niche product kind of gets everyone started and gets you a community. So whether it's Svelte, whether it's Ionic, whether it's like Golang or Backend specifically, like whatever those pieces and parts are, I think it's really good to build up that community and then start to expand past that, because I think it gets you followers kind of, oh, they're an expert in this thing. Keep following along with them. I think Fireship, Jeff Delaney did a really good job.
I wish I was Fireship.
We all.
Jeff did an amazing job. He decided like, I'm going to do this Firebase thing, and he did a really good job at it. But then he took that and he knew he wanted to do a very specific way of creating his videos, and he just went for it. And he's 1.5 million subscribers later, type of thing. So it's fantastic once you find that area and people start to trust you and start to associate your name with that area of expertise. So it's a really great point.
That usually also happens before you actually know you're an expert. So I don't know if it happened for the others in here as well, but for me, like people at some point just called me an expert in Ionic, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going through the documentation. It's printed right there. Just read it. I'm just giving back the words in a different way. But but actually it took me years to accept that I somehow must be an expert because I never wanted to admit that.
I'm kind of curious, do any of you run into like the burnout of just that right there, where it's like, it's all out here. Why am I doing this? This is ridiculous. Or do you kind of put yourself in well, that went well, or that didn't go well, and I'm going to move on to this next thing? How do you guys deal with kind of that burnout fatigue or finding that next piece of content to go after?
I was actually very close to stopping my blog, like, I don't know, 8 years ago, because at some point, I don't know, but I guess most are somehow burning out if you release weekly content. And I think this comes back to James' consistency. I would say this is like really the most important thing. There have been so many other blogs over the last years, over the 8-10 years that I've seen, and they were really great, but they were great for 3 months. And then the people always lost interest, because then it starts to get hard. Like, you can read a nice book on blogging and then you come up with 20 ideas for articles and you write them and you push them out. And then like 3 months later, you have 100 people reading that. And you're like, this is boring. Like, I don't want to do it. And at that point, if you keep up the consistency, I swear everyone's going to be successful if you just push through that. So I think I've been releasing a video or tutorial every week since like 8 or 9 years now. And it just sums up, like, every week you get 2, 3, 5 new people following you, and it just keeps adding and adding. But it's definitely hard to like keep the fire burning. And that's also why I transitioned this or last year into something more, because I felt like I've been doing Ionic Angular topics for about 6 years basically. I feel like I've covered every single topic. Like, I know when there's a new major version, you can pretty much start at 0 and do every tutorial again. But like the 10th time of doing the JWT authentication with something, it's just getting boring. And so after niching down in the beginning and do Ionic, I now like try to open up to more technologies. But it's kind of scary at that point, because you were once a big fish in a small pond, and then you become a small fish in a big pond, because now I'm swimming with the React guys and the React Native and the Flutter world, and nobody really knows you. So you pretty much start at 0 again, but it's also like exciting after some time to take on new challenges.
So you talk about like how you've done all the content in that specific area, and this is open to everybody. How do you go and push yourself further to find new content to like start breaking down? Like James sounds like it's going to kind of focus on like a 6
Keep
month
up to date with things too,
area.
like,
Right now he's focusing on his dog, but
Aw.
a very specific area of focus. But how are you like going to ChatGPT and saying, how can I write the next thing in Angular, and it's telling you? Like, what's your methodology around that right now? Ankita, I'm kind of curious from your perspective. What do you think?
I think for me, I would say, like, something that SEO would give you a lot out of. Like, for example, what are people looking for in your specific like niche in general, and what are some topics that you're interested in. But also, like, when you write some pieces of content and they resonate with people, they message you about you, ask questions. And I think that is also a very good sign to keep creating more of that content, and sort of dive deep in there as well. But having, like, maybe some sort of a content management system also like really helps. A content creation system also helps, because you can keep creating content. And I think consistency is like really important, as boring as that might sound. But a month later, you have, like, I don't know, 4 times whatever pieces of content you create, right? Like 10 or 12 pieces of content that will slowly start to resonate with people, right? As they start to discover you, depending on where they are in their journey. And yeah, so that's what I would say.
Yeah, nice. I'm curious, and I think Lane, you brought this up from a SEO perspective. You did a lot of like studying surrounding that. Is there something that you go to, or like a tool you use to dive in? Like if I want to write the next Golang thing, and here's the popular piece, where do you go find that out?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I started blogging, it was actually before I started my course platform or anything like that. So it was really just for fun. I was blogging about whatever I thought was interesting, which is a great way to get started and get practice. And it's a great way to get into a habit of consistency, because it's fun, right? But yeah, at some point I had to pivot to, how do I make this more effective? How do I make this a more effective use of my time? And at that point, yeah, I started playing around with a couple different tools. The big ones out there are SEMrush and Ahrefs. To be honest, I trialed both of them and they didn't help. I'm sure they help people, but I was able to get everything I need from Google Search Console, and like just kind of free tools. So I don't really have a recommendation for tools. It's because I think it's pretty simple. You just go into Keyword Planner, you kind of look up the niche that you're interested in writing about, and you can find all of the volume statistics for all the different keywords. And then really what it is about. I think a lot of people get kind of mired in technical SEO, but it's really, really simple if you want to get traffic on Google. It's have a great user experience on your blog and write really good content that answers the question of the query. And like, that's it. It's kind of like what James said. It's cliche, but the reality is you don't need a 4-year degree in SEO. It takes about 1 week to learn the things you need to learn, right? Have your page load quickly and write good stuff. And that's usually what it is.
Ooh, static or server side fan then with that?
Static, 100%.
Okay.
I use Hugo.
I'm going to call James out from the chat too. Analytics overwhelms me also. He said analytics overwhelms me.
I just don't know how to look at Google Analytics. Like, I don't know what all the things are. And
don't
like, I
mind
just
numbers.
haven't spent the time to
Yeah.
try to learn, which I think is like the bigger deal. But every time I do a quick look, it's just like, I don't know what I'm looking at. But
Well-
the SEO part is huge, and it's something that is on my radar to focus more on this year, because I've never intentionally done anything with SEO from my blog. Like, obviously I do research for YouTube videos and stuff a little bit, but for my blog I've never done that. But I mentioned this idea of like 6-month increments of creating content on a certain thing, leading to a course at the end, and having this marketing funnel with a free cheat sheet, etc. Part of that, part of the getting there is creating exactly what Lane just said, the easy advice of like, create blog content on those specific questions that people are going to have for that topic to build up SEO for the domain of the actual course that I'm working on. Joel from Egghead, he's kind of phrased this as like I think he's said it publicly, but the West Boss as a service thing that they do, where they work with like content creators to create these big courses, and it's over the course of a year or two, where they do like blog articles, and then they do workshops to like test out this stuff and see how people respond. And at the end of this, they've built up a ton of SEO value around whatever the topic is, have grown a newsletter from all the things that they've done, and then have this big launch at the end. And so that's the same idea, is like, you want to be known for a thing, create content on the thing. And especially if it's on a blog, a domain that you own, like, you're building up SEO for this thing. And if they come and read a blog article, you have a big button at the bottom that's like, if you want to learn more, go buy this course, so you can get the in-depth instruction. So yeah, it's not overly complicated, but actually executing and doing that on a consistent basis is the big challenge.
I imagine doing those 6-month chunks too will keep you interested in the stuff that you're creating and allow you to switch and change gears.
Yeah, I think it's a good balance of like having enough time to go deeper in a topic, and then also getting to cycle through things on a quick enough basis. Because I'm one of those people too that loves to try out new things all the time and gets overwhelmed of how many new things I do want to try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good balance. But again, this is like first time going through this cycle, so I'll let you know in 6 months and a year how they go.
Awesome.
I've heard it phrased as it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. Those aren't
Yeah.
the same, right? Like
Yeah.
the idea is very, very simple, but execution,
Yeah,
consistency, not easy.
absolutely.
Yeah,
There was you care if I throw in one more thing, Alex?
no, not at all.
So when I was just getting back into content, when I had almost no audience at the time, I saw a free YouTube series from West Boss on Flexbox on YouTube. And I reached out to him. I was like, hey, like, I'm thinking about getting back into creating content. Can I just like ask you a few questions? And West Boss like gave me his number, and we talked on the phone, which was wild. And I remember the number one thing that he talked about, like advice, was like, if you want to be known for a thing, like basically just tell people that you're known for it. Like, not that you're an expert, but not only talk about the thing, but act like, basically fake it till you make it kind of thing. Like if you don't seem like you believe in yourself in this topic, people aren't going to believe in you in that topic, and they're not going to follow what you're doing. So just tell them basically like, I'm doing a thing and I'm good at this topic, and you're probably still learning along the way. Like, I'm going to learn a ton about Astro along the way of creating this course, but I'm taking that learning over the course of months and I'm compacting it into this course that other people can learn in a handful of hours or whatever. So that idea of like fake it till you make it kind of thing, like, has a slight negative connotation, but the idea of using that to like confidently say, I'm going to work on this thing, or I am a person that does this thing, I think carries a lot of weight.
I'm curious that you all have probably hit this struggle, and I think we've kind of talked around it a little bit, but have you have you thought about this is too much? I need to go back to a normal 9 to 5 job and go like I'll do this. It's fun. Like I'll do it on the side, but it's become too much to try to like get my own money and monetize things, and it's just overwhelming. Has anyone hit that point yet? What was it like getting past it?
I have the opposite fear. I'm worried that I broke myself as an employee and that I won't be able to go back as an individual contributor. It's too much fun
feel
working
that
for
way. I'm
myself.
breaking myself every day. So
That's been my experience. But before that, when I was still working, because I got boot dev to a pretty great point before quitting, but when I was still working, there were a lot of times where I was like, can I just stop with this side project thing? Like I'm sinking so many hours into it. So there definitely were times like that. Since quitting, it's been really great. But before that, it was tough.
I also think after 6 years, I'm kind of unemployable at this point. I don't think I could ever go back. Like, but even now, I know after 6 years, it's really getting normal. Like what I do here, but I pretty much every day try to remind myself that this is not normal. If I look around in my neighborhood, this is totally not normal what I'm doing. So my wife can stay at home and I can just do whatever I want with them. And this is not the usual way. But when I was still working a job, I still remember the feeling like driving the commute 1 hour per day and sitting in the car, listening to Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income and just dreaming like, this would be so awesome. Like I can just get up in the morning and code and work on whatever I want. And it's now exactly like that for 6 years. And I just get up out of bed and then I work out. I have an outdoor gym, like even if it's cold in Germany, I do my workout every morning. So I just follow my own plan.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think this might be a good one to wrap it up on too, is where you talk about like how you got over these humps, but also how you balance creating the content with the other aspects of your life and make it your job. How do you like schedule your day and those kinds of things? If everybody wanted to go around and do that.
Simon starts with a workout apparently. Whew.
Yeah, I sleep next to my daughter. I get up, I drink my booster, I work out in my outdoor gym. I take a shower, and probably 9 a.m. I usually start my day. I work a few hours, then we have lunch together with my wife, and at like, I don't know, then I take a half-hour nap or NSDR session. I can highly recommend that, Yoga Nidra, NSDR. And then I try to work a bit more in the afternoon. So my daughter comes back from kindergarten at like 2 p.m. And then I work until like 4 p.m. And then I take a 1 hour walk outside. So I like to get like at least 10K steps per day or 20K sometimes. Some of you have seen me, I have a treadmill and a standing desk. So that definitely helps. Highly recommend it. It's not that like expensive. You can get one for 200 euros. So that's pretty much my day. But yeah, I think in total, probably like I maybe work 5 hours per day, but then like in the evening, you lay in bed and you think half an hour about, okay, next week I'm going to do this, or probably that content is more important. Maybe I should check Twitter again. And then on the weekend, you do the taxes and then you do the planning. So I think in the end, it sums up to a lot of hours, but the days are still like, I got the control over my day, and I like, you can't pay for money with that, like for that feeling.
Yeah.
Do you have any concerns about like 401k, retirement, pension? I mean, Germany, it's a little easier than other places, but
it's unbelievably expensive, first of all. So in total, I pay about like 50% tax. Like every euro I earn, like I earn 50 cents of that. And then I have to, because I'm self-employed, I pay about 700 euros for insurance, health insurance, private. And then we have mortgage, and like I'm paying my wife something, so that really adds up at some point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard. Like we don't really have a 401, whatever you call that.
That's
but I do my personal savings, and to be honest, I'm not too concerned about the money right now because I'm 33, I think. So I don't really care.
Once you hit 40, I hear you'll never remember.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
But the thing is, like, I could still make something really successful, like in the next 2, 3, 5 years, even when I'm 40, and I'm kind of relaxed that at some point I will figure out something. Like for now, everything's cool and we get along, and I don't really need a lot of money. But yeah, maybe when I'm 50, like even when you're 50, you can still start a startup and like do some pretty awesome stuff. Like I do save a bit just to have a like security net, but overall I'm not too concerned, because as a creator you can always come up with like whatever, write a new book, like James doing an Astro course. Next year we got something else. Next year he's doing a quick course, and then you're doing a Svelte course, and then Angular switches to Signals, and you can do another big course.
Quick. I love that. Oh, you got to get on that one.
Quick on quick.
Quick on quick.
Gotten
Write
a
all
lot
these
of
down.
comments about
Jeez, we
this.
talked about trying to figure out things to do. Here you go, content creators.
Yeah.
Don't steal quick on quick though. Let me keep that one.
How do you spell each one? I don't know. Any other, like, anybody have different methodology? Like, how about when you were working? Did you have like I'm going to spend an hour every morning on something, or what was that like?
When I was like working 9 to 5, it was pretty much like 9 to 5 because I was in a leadership position, especially senior leadership. A lot of folks were very interested in waking up very early in the morning and start messaging folks, which was quite interesting and something I realized that I cannot wait to go back, like to be a content creator, because I can like, dictate my own schedule and things like that. But I would say like I would always like start even then and even now, like start planning my week on a Sunday, just to kind of figure out like, okay, what my focus of the week is going to be like, and then accordingly go from there essentially. Yeah.
That's really cool. It's tough. I feel like when you're kind of in that mode of I could do both of these things right now, but like taking that final leap is always so challenging, I feel like. Cool. I think we have one more question, maybe?
You got to tell me. I don't know the answer to that.
I know. I'm looking at our list. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. We have a few things in there. I didn't know if we had time for them.
This one I was really curious about. Where do you see the content industry heading in the next few years with all of the like AI and content creation things being so automated? What tools are you using now is a good question too.
Go ahead, Lang.
Yeah, I can speak to this just a little bit. So I've definitely started using them as much as I can. I
saw some of your picks. They look pretty sweet.
Thanks. Yeah, I can't. I don't like it. No matter what your opinion is, I don't think shying away from new technology is the right answer, right? You always need to be leveraging stuff as it makes sense. So what I've found personally is that like I replaced all of my stock images on my website that were just like Unsplash or whatever. I've started using AI generated images. Takes me just about the same amount of time, but great. Now my blog posts look unique when you kind of land on the site. That's been fantastic. As far as like generating text content for my blogs, I haven't been able to figure out how to improve my workflow yet. It's a lot of work to sit there and prompt the AI to like get a paragraph of text. I'm like, I can just write this. Like, I don't know if anyone else has had
a blog post, just the full thing.
No, I have. I just haven't been able to get it to that quality, like that standard that I want to get it to. But I have tried. Maybe other people are better prompt engineers than I am.
I've been shockingly surprised. Like, write a Twitter post about XYZ, like actually spell it out, and it's great. And the other day I was like, write me a Svelte post about AppWrite with blah blah blah, and it wrote all the code and everything. I was like, what? Like it pretty much blew my mind. So it's going to become more prevalent. I was just kind of curious if anyone was nervous about that, or do you feel like the human touch is always going to win out at the end of the day?
I still think you can always see when it's AI written. Like just the other day, someone had a tweet, and immediately my first thought was like, you didn't write that. You just see it. And that was also the first comment that tweet got. And so I think for the content creation industry, I still think if you have personality, like if you show your face and you are just you, then it's definitely going to be more helpful. But I agree to Lane, like for my new project, I wanted to have like quick wins, like quick answers on topics. So I asked ChatGPT, like, how do I embed a blob image in Angular? And like the result, that is perfect for a quick win. I basically copied that 1-to-1, and I'm now going through that process for like I figure out SEO topics, like what people are looking for. For example, they're looking for React router with TypeScript. You ask ChatGPT, how do I type my stuff for React router? you get the perfect quick win. Like, you don't need to write an article for like 2 weeks about that topic. You just need the right answer. And yeah, ChatGPT was definitely great in assisting me with that.
I completely agree. I think what it lacks is empathy right now and like that human touch, right? So like you can ask for prompts to like help you, I guess like to get over your writer's block, for example, or instead of staring at a blank page, you can just ask ChatGPT to write about it. But then you're like, oh, this is great. Thank you for helping me get started. But now I have so many other ideas from my experience that I can add on to, which will make it more personal in a blog post or a video or anything like that. So I feel like, I guess like similar to like how others were saying, it's just like it's great to use it as a tool to help you become better at your job and be more productive. And there's no point in shying away from it, because the more you run away from it, the faster it's going to chase you because it's here to stay. There are so many cool tools out there. So I think like building like with even like the chat gpt api and stuff like that to being open now, I cannot wait to try it out and like help out with like some sort of productivity or developer flow essentially as well. So yeah, always use it to your advantage.
I think that that's true, though, pointing out that you can lose your tone of voice and your personality in your writing if you just use it straight out. So that's a good call out.
All right. I think we're going to pivot over to our perfect picks now. Mr. Quick, spelled the quick way, not the quick way. You are up first.
Nailed it. Yesterday I had Elio join me on stream to talk about his product, which is a VS Code extension called Front Matter. And I have embedded Markdown as my blog. So I moved away from a headless CMS just so I could have all of my stuff right inside of my code base, which has been great. But working with Front Matter is like manually going and typing stuff in. I usually copy Front Matter from one to another and then change it, and I have to manually create a file, get a name, generate the slug, like all these things. And so I tried out his extension live on stream with him, and I was absolutely like hands down blown away. So very basic stuff is you basically have a GUI to edit your Front Matter. You can define like your types for Front Matter, like what are the properties and what types are they. You can scaffold new pieces of content. So it's not just blog content, but any sort of markdown content that you want. You define the schema, basically. You click new, it asks you the title. It can generate slugs. It also does like slug optimization, which is like if you say the top JavaScript frameworks, it'll just remove the from the URL to make it shorter and like make more sense. It has SEO best practices in it, like how long should a title and description be. You get Media Manager where you can view all of your images and work with them. You get a visualization and search and filter of all of your content, including like preview image associated with it, tags, like all of these things. It's like mind-blowing how powerful this extension is. So if anybody is working with embedded Markdown for blog posts or any other type of content in your site, check out the Front Matter extension for VS Code at frontmatter.codes. I can almost guarantee you that you won't regret it, and it'll change the way that you work with Front Matter and Markdown in general.
You have your podcast voice on.
Boom.
That's his ad voice. So I'm really curious on this, James. The one thing that always holds us up on things are images, and we love to store our images over on Cloudinary because we get so many free for being an MD. When you load the image, are you allowed to like? How does that work as far as like uploads and stuff? Do you have to have it somewhere first?
Yeah, so it like all of this is just kind of a GUI sitting on top of all the things that you're already doing. So you can edit the metadata for your cover image specifically that would go on the Front Matter and just give it a Cloudinary URL. And I haven't 100% confirmed this, but I'm almost positive all the preview things that come with these images, you will see the preview of that image. It'll just be a remote URL to Cloudinary instead of a relative path to your public directory, if that makes sense. So I think that will work seamlessly. You'll just have your images just like you've been doing stored in Cloudinary. Use that URL instead of the relative URL to your site.
I love this. If we can do MD specs, see, I can't ever say it.
MD specs.
MD specs with this. I'm in. This is great. Cool. Next we have Code Mirror by Lane. Sorry, Lane. I forgot who did this one.
No, you're good. This is the browser plugin that we use, or I should say like JavaScript package that we use to do our text editors on boot dev. And I've tried a couple different ones. I tried Ace, I tried Monaco, I don't know how to pronounce it. And this one is amazing. So V6 was just released. It's super modular, tons of features. But what I like most about it is the core is super lightweight and you can build around it super powerful features. So I actually worked with the maintainer. We sponsored a couple new open source features that we are now using in boot dev. So if you're interested in building like interactive experiences with writing code in the browser, definitely check out CodeMirror. All I have is good things to say about CodeMirror.
Love it. That's sweet. Ankita, DALL-E 2. Tell us more.
Yeah, this is a very cool tool. It's essentially like creates like more realistic images and fun art for yourself. So I've been using this tool a lot. I've been working on a course to help developers transition into leadership. And for that landing page, I've been kind of like adding prompts into ChatGPT and like getting single line sentences and feeding into DALL-E to like make that landing page pretty cool. And I've been using that. And what I love about it is like you can upload an image and like even if you draw something out, right, like sketch and rough, you can upload it and it will generate a series of images for you, which has been like really cool. So I highly recommend it if you want to create fun art for, let's say, your demos or landing pages, for example, as well, to make it like look attractive.
So are you automating that currently, or you're just kind of doing one-off?
Oh, no. I'm just doing like one-off just
Okay.
for the course modules and things like that. So like foundation. So like sketching something out on my iPad and like trying to upload it so that it creates like this funky, cool effect. So yeah, just want to
Cool.
make it look so that it looks good. Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Very cool. Simon, tell us about Galaxies.dev.
Yeah, that's my new platform, Galaxies.dev. Explore the edges of the web dev universe with us is currently the title. So this is a learning platform about all the crazy new technologies like React, Angular, Vue, Astro, but also covering stuff like Tori, Supabase, AppWrite, like you name it. It's a confusing landscape, both the JavaScript worlds, like with all the new frameworks coming up every other week, and we got server-side rendering and static site generation and all those crazy things. And this site is my new home for all my courses. So I'm doing everything that we talked in the beginning that you definitely should not do as a beginner. So I've built up this site from the ground with SvelteKit, with a developer, with a designer. So we spent quite some money on it. I do have courses from other content creators, like about topics like Next.js and Firebase. And so far we launched like 2 days, 1st of March, no, 3 days, I don't know. We have 300 free members already and quite a few pro members as well. And going forward, this is hopefully the place for the modern web developer to check out real practical courses. I think this is going to be my main thing because I personally don't like these 6, 12, 30-hour courses. They are just too long for me. I don't like that. But we have courses usually around 90 minutes, and that's you can speed that up even at 2x, and then you can learn like the basics of Vue in an hour and the basics of React Native in an hour. And I feel that's more handy, and we're going to see how this grows over the future.
Love it. That's sweet. I love this design, by the way. This is just bananas good. Holy smokes.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm a big Star Wars fan as well, so hopefully.
Ooh, are you watching Mandalorian right now?
Oh, I'm still watching the Bad Batch, like in
Nice.
the animation. But is Mandalorian good, the new season?
Oh my gosh, yes.
I didn't
It's
know
only
it was
episode
better than Endor?
I think so, but
Ooh,
I thought it was better than that one too. The other 2 seasons.
we'll see.
epic.
Britt, you have a new
This is
toy.
mine. So we got this last week and I was sick and I couldn't try it out for like 2 days. And I was so mad because my whole family was down there playing with it. But I finally got to try it out this weekend and it's just bananas good.
For those
It is
on
like-
audio, it's the PlayStation VR 2.
What? Oh yeah, for those on audio. Yep, sorry. PlayStation VR 2. So it is like this headset, but virtual reality has just come so far. And there's a kayaking game that we do, and you can like look down in the water and see a coral reef and fish just swimming by. And we played Horizon, and you can like shoot the bow, and it's insane what you can do with this thing and feel like you're in another world.
That's so cool.
It is making me a little dizzy, but I think I'll get used to it. I'm trying to get used to that.
We have an Oculus, and my friend played this shooting game where you go out onto a bridge, and he started flipping out, and I had no idea he's like deathly afraid of heights, and
Oh my
I'd never seen someone react like that. So it's
Oh,
pretty
that's
legit.
scary. Yeah.
I did put your other one up there if you want to just hit this one quick.
Oh yeah. So I posted this Dev2 post on here because I had made a comment about the state of JavaScript survey, and the demographics were not great. I think we had like 7% non-male participants this year, and Sasha Grief is the creator of that, and he's looking into like what he can do about it and exploring like other people's demographics and seeing like how he can impact the survey and get it out to a more diverse crowd. And I really respect that, and I'm looking forward to what they come up with.
Yeah, same. That is such a struggle in our industry. It's terrible.
I know. And I mean, it's not really his fault. Like, it's not your fault. Like, you have to lead with intention, but it's a fact of what we live in. And it's just, it's hard. It is a hard thing to do. And so I respect that he's trying.
Yeah, absolutely. This was already mentioned. So this is the Monaco editor. This is my pick that we're trying to implement in CodingCat, the next version that we're going to put out. But I might have to talk with some of these people offline if they'll be willing to let me use some of their packages instead. We'll see here. But it's been incredibly easy to set up and put into an editor and use. We're trying to combine this with web containers. So if you've seen learn.svelte.dev, same setup as this is kind of how we want our tutorials to run in the future. So we're also working with Holopin. When you do a pull request to create tutorial on your own, we're hoping to put out badges soon. So this will all get tied up together to put more content out there for everyone. Thank you all so much for coming on. I can't wait to see the next content that you push out. I'm always following all of you, of course.
Yeah.
And we'll have to do this again soon. Maybe
I feel like we've got lots
6-month.
of tidbits of information and good things for going forward for everyone.
Yeah. Hope everybody got something good out of it. And we'll talk to you next time. See ya.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.